Moscow has welcomed the revision of the national security strategy by U.S. President Donald Trump's administration, where Russia is not mentioned as a direct threat. U.S. national security strategies have labeled Russia as a major threat since Moscow's 2014 annexation of Crimea and its 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine. However, on Friday, the updated U.S. policy adopted a softer tone and urged limited cooperation. The new U.S. strategy document said that the U.S. would seek a quick resolution on Russia's war in Ukraine as it aimed to re-establish strategic stability with Moscow. However, it still maintained that Russia's actions in Ukraine remained a central security concern. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called it a positive step. He added that Russia would examine the documents in the coming days to draw out a broader conclusion. The apparent softening of tone on Russia comes as new strategy mentioned that Trump's foreign policy vision is going one of flexible realism. The 29-page statement said that the U.S. policy from now on will be defined by what works for America above all, or, in two words, America first. President Trump has often made positive and admiring comments about Russian President Putin, prompting critics to accuse him of being soft on Moscow. Washington's European allies have voiced concern that softer U.S. language might weaken efforts to confront Moscow as the war in Ukraine continues. But the alliance has still held so far.
Europe has been underestimating its own power towards Russia, for example. I mean, we should be more self-confident, that's for sure. And, you know, US is still our biggest ally. And there, I read it as well, that we are still the biggest ally, and it's in the interest of the United States as well that Europe lasts and that we are really still the ally and working together for these things. I think we haven't always seen eye to eye on different topics, but I think the overall principle is still there. We are the biggest allies and we should stick together.
The new U.S. strategy may bring more worries for Europe, especially Trump's NATO allies. The updated U.S. national security strategy shows that for the Trump administration, Europe is less of a defense priority despite the threat posed by Russia. The NSS indicates that it expects Europe to take care of its own defense and that there will be no more NATO expansion. This means no NATO membership for Ukraine. Notably, the strategy also calls for direct intervention in the democratic politics of European nations. It also says that Washington will champion opponents to European Union-led values, including on immigration, while giving a call to revive European nationalism. It states that U.S. policy should prioritize cultivating resistance to Europe's current trajectory within European nations. This will be not acceptable to most European nations.
The United States of America is and remains our most important ally in the alliance. However, this alliance focuses on addressing political and security issues. Of course, it is also an alliance based on shared values, which means that other issues can also be discussed, but I believe that issues such as freedom of expression or the organization of our free societies here, at least in Germany, do not belong in this context. Nor do we believe that anyone needs to give us advice on these matters. They are regulated by our constitutional order.
Now this poses a question. Is NSS just a document or the future roadmap of Trump? If the US act to implement the strategy, it is set to cause friction with its European and NATO allies.